Hey everybody, it's Bruno on NB, where it can't all be serious. And today I have my very good friend, Meagan Fettes from Untamed Academy. And if she was 100% Italian, her name would be Meagan Fettuccini. But anyways, Meagan, how are you today?
I'm so good, Brew. How are you doing?
I am doing really well. You're one of the very few people that call me what my son calls me all the time. So, you know what? I've been dying to have you on my show for a little while, and let's just say that Untamed Academy is a really cool initiative, but I think people want to get to know you and everything. But how we start our show off, our thumbnail, we don't want to waste too much time, but our thumbnail says entrepreneurial speakers. I think I got that right. So,
Yeah.
because the viewers have an advantage because they can see the thumbnail. I don't see it yet, but entrepreneurial speakers, what does that actually mean?
Yeah. So there's two different routes that speakers can take. And often when people think about speaking, they think about the keynote speaking, where they're getting up on stage, they're getting paid a specific amount, and they go and speak at conferences. The entrepreneurial speaker is the one who is still hitting stages and they're promoting their business through a specific strategy in their talk. So they're still getting paid. There's no such thing as a free speaking opportunity if you know how to speak and sell your products, programs, or services through standing on stage and delivering your talk.
You know what's well, first of all, let's take the mystery out of all this stuff because people kind of go, how do you know her? How do you know him? And it's and that and the other thing. Most of the time I have to really think about it. But one of the reasons why I actually met you was one of those our folks, a little shameless promoting of our production company, Enta Solutions. They're a great company. It's not my company. You know why they're great? Because they gave me a free, like, this is a really kick-ass mug. I'll just tell you.
I'm going to say, how you didn't get one?
I
I
think
want one of those.
I think that was season one. I don't know if they have any more, but it is kick-ass. So they presented Megapix, our company, the opportunity to have our Power Network Group event. And your group was the one that put on all the speakers, and we're going to put the link to that YouTube live feed. And I got to tell you, you did a fantastic job. It was like over the top because I didn't know you that well, and the speakers were a little close to the heart. They were pretty tough on people in a good way. You know what I'm saying? So when you say entrepreneurial speakers and then keynote speaking, walk us through really what that means, because people go to a function and they listen to somebody talk for an hour or 45 minutes at a corporate thing, and then they find out we paid that guy $10,000 for that or $100,000. Walk us through some of the differences because you're the expert.
Yeah, totally. So keynote speakers are individuals who often have their own business, but they're not focused on promoting it. So they speak on a specific topic. Usually it's more like training focused. So corporations or events or like large conferences will hire keynote speakers to come in and dive into specifics on a topic that will provide education for their audience. And sometimes what will happen is those conferences have a lot of corporations that need that style of training for their employees. And so they could hire that keynote to come and actually support within that training aspect. But more often than not, it's the opportunity for them to just focus specifically on that topic. Whereas entrepreneurial speakers, they are usually small to medium-sized business owners who have a product, program, or service that they go up on stage. They are wanting to share their story. They're working to connect with the audience in the same way. But the design of their talk is really about helping their audience understand what the real problem is that needs to be solved, what they're doing that might be creating results that aren't working for them, and what it is that they need to do so that they have clarity and they're able to make the decision to say, yes, I want to work with that speaker. So there's no contract, there's no specific action other than showing up and helping the audience make a decision on whether you're the right person to serve them and support them in solving that problem.
here's what I'm going to tell you. I move around because I do take notes. I just find my guests sometimes, I think I kind of know them. And then you say one or two things and I go, okay, that's why I carry a pen during, I just write things down. I'm kind of, you said something interesting is that, you know, a keynote is this and that is that and everything like that. I don't know if a lot of people really know the difference. And like, for instance, you're way too young to remember this probably, but on Saturday Night Live, they had Chris Farley doing the motivational speaker guide. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. That's one of my favorite skits, actually.
Like, so what's the difference? And I know some of my viewers are like, don't you know the difference? And I'm like, okay, but I'm talking to a pro that can actually go, this is this, this is this, this is this, this is this, right? Is a motivational speaker joking around like Chris Farley, but is a motivational speaker a keynote speaker sometimes?
Yes. So I love this because I get asked this all the time, actually. And a motivational speaker, they're usually keynoters. But what's interesting about this, and what most people don't think about, even in the keynoting world, is when you think about, say, Brene Brown, right? She's kind of like one of those well-known motivational speakers out there right now. She does her talk in a specific way so that people are moved, they hit a specific like awareness and often clarity enough to be able to like actually create change in their life from her talk. But, and even though she's not selling anything right directly from that stage, she's designed her talk in a way that motivates people to go to her website, buy her book, look into other programs and products that she has. So she is a keynote speaker, but also has a thread of entrepreneurial speaker within it.
Got it.
And so what's often challenging for people to understand is that the two are very much intertwined. The only difference is that when you have the entrepreneurial speaker awareness, meaning that you have the specific strategy in place in your talk to help move people in a specific direction, then you're going to get more results. And if you can utilize that entrepreneurial strategy and implement it into your keynote, then you will ultimately create better results as well in the keynoting side.
So here's a question again. We've all seen it. I kind of, you know, talk about this all the time in our media side is that everybody consumes digital media. It's pretty hard to create it and then put it in the right box and get it. And this is why I'm asking these specific questions, because I don't know how many people, especially after our Power Network group, because you got an incredible response to that. And I don't even know why I was so surprised with my co-host. I'm not throwing Miranda under the bus, but like we both said, oh my God, you know, Meagan's really good. I don't even know why I'm surprised. You're a pro. But you came out and you're just normally just Meagan, you know, it's like, hey guys, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. And then you go out there, but it was still you, but it was like boom, boom, boom. It was like so, you know, you made it look so easy that so many people came up to me afterwards and said, yeah, you know what? I can be a motivational speaker or whatever they labeled it as, right? Not everybody could pull that off. Like you were really good because you weren't annoying. You weren't like selling. You were presenting the speakers. And just that, you were kick-ass. So you must be like the MC at everybody's wedding or something because it was kick-ass. But not everybody can pull that off. Why do you think they can't pull it off?
I think more often than not, people go in with the intention of actually either selling, or they go in with the
Right.
intention of having to prove something or showcase themselves in a certain way. When we can shift our mindset into more about how can I show up for the audience? How can I really support them and be connected to them and move them through that journey? It kind of takes the pressure off, and that's like honestly why it becomes so easy and more natural, because when we take the focus off of ourselves and we put it onto the audience, then the ego begins to let go. The fear of needing to look a certain way or to appear professional just dissolves. And we're actually able to be present and speak to what the audience needs to hear.
Yeah, you know, so I'm going to throw a couple of names out because I want to have a little fun, a little bit, or maybe not just names, but I just recently went to a function where somebody had a keynote speak. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions on this because you're the expert, right? so somebody went up and it was like a fundraiser, I don't know, 500-600 people or something like that. And they went up and they did one of these, ladies and gentlemen, Johnny Smith comes up, right? And he goes, thank you, everybody. And he does this and he kind of read off it. Is that a keynote speak, or is it just kind of somebody a little bit more amateur, or is that a professional speak? And like, he wasn't selling anything, right?
So it's funny that you bring that up. That's actually one of my biggest pet peeves with speakers.
Okay.
And so, no, that's definitely not a keynote. Usually it's because they are nervous about forgetting something.
Right.
I was just having this conversation with one of my clients yesterday, actually, because she's speaking at an event in less than a month. And she said, like, well, can I print off my talk and can I bring it up onto the stage with me? And I said, no, absolutely not. It's not about remembering verbatim what it is that you wrote. And that's why there's a system and structure that we utilize in the talk. So that if you do forget it, you forget what you're about to say, or you forget what you wrote, then you just take a moment, you pause, because speakers need to pause to let their audience kind of absorb what it is that they just said, and then continue to speak. And if you can't recall what it is that you wrote, then usually what you say is going to be what the audience needs to hear. That level of connection to the audience is more important than making sure that you perfect your talk.
And okay, so here's another one. That's really good, because that's always like, it said on the piece of paper, the advertising said keynote speaker, Billy Bob, whatever, right? And then they pull it out. I'm not being critical. I want to clarify, right? Because some people tell me, especially after that event, I got it. And I've introduced you to a few people, and some are good, some I don't know, right? I just kind of go, hey, this is Meagan, go ahead. I kind of have no desire to go on stage and keynote speak. I don't even know where I would start. And it's not something that, and I'm making a point that it's not for everybody, right? Some people are super outgoing, great storytellers, blah, 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 but have no interest in addressing a corporate crowd, right? So how do you tell right away if they're kind of not?
Well, and it's funny because speaking, really, if we own a business, no matter what, we're speaking. And so whether it's on stage or it's behind a screen or it's in networking, right? Really honing in on what is the message that people need to hear to engage them is vital. But what's interesting is there are those people that are like, I don't want to hit a stage. So my favorite thing to do is actually get really clear on what is it that you want to do. Like, how do you want to run your business? And often it even comes out where people are like, I just want to speak to a small group. And even small groups to be able to speak to is important. So it's really about going through and looking at their personality, going through their own goals, their own vision, their own ideas of what they want to utilize to build and how they want to be able to speak their messaging of their business. And then from there, looking at, okay, well, then how do we actually design this talk so that it supports whatever route you need to go that feels more comfortable and in alignment with who you are.
On the flip side, you have people that you would never think would ever do a public address or a keynote or a sponsor, whatever you call it. And I'm not going to name this person, but I introduced you to him. And the first time I met this person, and I have no problems because I've talked to him about and my former business, and he was quote unquote forced to meet me with the other VP going out and all that. I can't remember the whole thing. And he said, so and so, meet Bruno. And there was another person with me, one of the people who work with us. And he said, he's our supplier, blah, 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 blah. And he point blank looked at me. And I know you might know who I'm talking about, but I just know. And he said, Bruno, let me get something straight. I'll call you when I need you. I don't like chit chat. I just get to the point. Right. And I'm like, get to the point. You hit the wrong guy because I like to shoot the shit and stuff. But anyways, it caught me off guard. So we created a great relationship afterwards. Like, I consider him a very close friend. Then I find out he's like the kick-ass dude at the Toastmasters / debate club. And And I think he spoke to you also about becoming a keynote, like a real keynote speaker. And I'm like, the last person that I thought would ever go on stage and just kick ass, right? So there are some people that surprise you, right?
Absolutely. And because oftentimes there's those that will present themselves like that, right? Where they're like very straight to the point, very strategic in what they do. And you're like, oh, like they don't really have that personality for this. But usually what ends up happening is because that to them is like their strategy in that moment or what it is
Right.
that they need to do in that moment, right? But how they show up in other spaces is a little bit different. And it's funny because I used to say, oh, well, how you show up one place is how you show up everywhere. But that's not completely true. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people that have literally blown my mind in the first meeting where I'm like, oh, I don't know if you're going to be somebody that really wants to stand up on stage and really be the front line and showcase yourself. And they're the ones that are so good at it. Like once they hit that stage, it's like a new personality or persona
Yeah.
begins to come out.
Yeah. Well, somebody that comes to mind is Robert De Niro. And I don't even know, he's such a good actor that I don't know if he's acting or not. If ever you've seen him on a talk show, oh my God, it's just painful.
Oh, really? I've never seen him on a
Yeah,
talk show.
yeah. I mean, if ever, like, apparently like, I'm not a huge fan of Robert De Niro. I think he's a great actor and everything. I'm just, I think he's good, but I don't like, what do you call it? Look at everything he does. But somebody sent me an interview. I think it was in David Letterman and him and Dustin Hoffman. And Dustin Hoffman was hilarious, and Robert, like, he was just like, so you would never know that. I mean, there's such great actors, but here's something. So, who is a perfect candidate for first of all, Untamed Academy? Let's talk about that before we talk about a perfect candidate for you. But Untamed
Mhm.
Academy, you started it. How'd you start it? Why'd you start it?
Yeah. So I started it about 6 years ago. And the whole intention behind Untamed Academy was to really help speakers get out of their box, right? And that's why it's called Untamed, because in order to create the impact that we want to create, we have to be willing to be untamed in how we show up. We have to be willing to be untamed in our message, in our purpose, in our passion, to be able to speak in such a way that really connects to those that we're meant to serve. And what's really cool about it is it came about with the intention of helping entrepreneurs and keynoters really find their voice and stand in their power.
That's Yeah, and I mean that's really interesting because, like I said, when I talked to you personally, I mean, you're really outgoing, but then you're a pro. Like, I really, really enjoyed it. And the people that, quote unquote, you trained were just like, wow, they were like, you could tell that they knew what they were talking about. But they were natural, but they were better than normal. You know what I mean? So obviously they went through some kind of training. But who's a perfect candidate? Because a lot, like I said, everybody said, I want to be a perfect, I have a story. Everybody's got a story, but what's a perfect candidate?
Yeah. So the perfect candidate is honestly somebody who is an entrepreneur that is looking to grow their business. Maybe they're already speaking and they're not getting results. So they might have people say, you know what, you were a great speaker, or wow, that really like impacted me. But that's it. That's kind of where the movement ends. And so my point of genius is being able to bridge that gap and design a signature talk and help you like untame your delivery of it so that you get results. People are coming to you and they want to work with you. They want to connect you with somebody that they know needs your services so that you truly can serve at that higher level. So small, medium businesses, people that really do want to become more intentional with their time. They want to speak to more, serve more, but be intentional with how they do it.
Well, yeah, I like the thing that you said right now. It said my point of genius is. I really think that I'm sure your academy is really good, and this is just not just bullshit compliment, but I think your point of genius is I love your energy. From the point of view is like when you were putting that event on, I was very privileged to be one of the hosts, and it was just it was fantastic. I know that you're not just doing it for money. I think you can do a ton of other stuff. You can be a Uber driver for children going to school and being totally busy all the time. Like, I don't know how you fit in your schedule, but I'm just saying your point of genius, I think, is your energy and your passion. We're really lucky to know you and work with you. So that's fantastic. Are you going to be back for our next episode?
Absolutely.
Okay, look out though. I went easy on you on this one. So anyways, everybody, this is Meagan Fettes Fettuccini from Untamed Academy. Thanks again, Meagan.
Thanks, Brew.